This morning's was very interesting. When I first read the verse, I was just like, you have got to be kidding me. Like, what is a distaff? So if you haven't had a chance to look at the link I shared previously, please do. It's really short. It has a very quick explanation of what a distaff is and what it's used for. There are much longer videos out there. I watched several different videos learning about spinning, the process of it, and the distaff in particular, how it is wrapped and so on and so forth. Lots of great information out there. I didn't know. I'm 43 years old and I've read this scripture many times and I've never taken the time to look up and really see what is a distaff. Obviously I'm talking about verse 19. It is, she layeth her hands to the spindle and her hands hold the distaff. And of course, in my mind, a spindle is the thing that Sleeping Beauty, wasn't it Sleeping Beauty, stuck her hand with, you know, the spindle from the fairy tales. So even that, I had to do just a little bit of research on that, and it was pretty much what I had in mind. So I wasn't surprised much with the spindle, but the distaff, like I was a little bit surprised at what it is. I have seen them in movies and pictures. I just didn't know what they were, what they're used for, and in short, they're used for creating thread or yarn. So taking wool from its thick matted, what's the word I'm looking for? Anyhow, from the thick matted format and bringing it down into a manageable wool thread or yarn. I'm assuming you can do it different thicknesses. That's what they were doing in the videos that I was watching. It didn't take time to understand all about thread and yarn and the differences and so on and so forth. But I was mainly interested in what is the distaff and what does it represent? And even after I read it at first, I was like, I don't understand the connection. How am I supposed to put this in today's everyday life? You know, how can I apply this? I don't use wool. I don't have access to wool. I'm sure I could get it on Etsy, but I'm just saying readily available, you know, anyhow. As I sat there and I was actually a little bit like, someone would have to have a lot of determination and patience to do this. And that's when the light bulb came on, of course. That's what the Proverbs 31 woman represents. Patience, diligence. What was some other words I wrote down here? Endurance, commitment. This is not something you can start and just stop. You have to keep going. I'm really bad about not following through on something. I think it's a great idea, and I've gotten better as I've aged, but it's something I struggle with. I think it's a great idea, you know, like doing a Proverbs 31 study and then finishing it. So it just it hit me literally like a light bulb. And of course, as I had read this, and I just my immediate next words were, Lord, help me. How do I apply this to today? I'm sure there's some way. And he answered. And it just literally probably meant more to me than many of these other verses ahead of it. When I realized the patience and commitment and endurance that this woman has to have. Using the distaff, creating this thread, is not a 5-minute job. In fact, I would imagine it probably took several hours of work to get enough thread to make a garment. I was just blown away by the work and the talent that goes into using the distaff and the creation of the thread. It's beautiful and such a representation of what we are to be. It's also a wonderful representation of Christ. I mean, come on. How much patience does he have with me? And he is enduring, and he is diligent, and he loves me in spite of all my faults and failures. That's all the things that I strive to be, I try to be as a mom. And we all know with mothering, you can't just quit. Once they're here, and you can't just quit. You can't just give up. Obviously, sometimes it's nice to have help. It's nice to have a break, but you have to endure. You have to continue. And so by God's grace, we have that ability to continue. We have that ability to get up in the morning. We have new mercy every morning. We can start all over again, try to be patient again, try to be diligent, and all those wonderful things. Maybe it doesn't speak to you in the same way that it spoke to me, but it did. Like, it seriously, the more I think about it, I've just continued to think about this and to ponder on it. And the more I do, the more I'm realizing what the spindle and the distaff represents to me today. And maybe because it was so common back then, maybe it didn't have the same meaning that it does to us today. I don't know, but it's definitely had a very profound meaning to me this morning. So again, I hope this is an encouragement to you. I don't know, maybe this means something completely different to you, but please share it with me. I'd love to know what you guys think and what this might mean to you. Are there any other things that pop out to you? I highly encourage you to go watch the videos. I found several on YouTube about this process, and just, it's a beautiful process, but it is a very slow and tedious process.